A core component of pleasure in games lies in the creation and maintenance of players' relationship to the goal. Rules indirectly engineer this relationship. Within games, goals can take on enormous importance, but the goal itself is a formal construct, is not the point. The goal is important only insofar as it serves to shape a player's experience. The goal is an artificial, invented condition that the players accept as their ultimate objective. In establishing the nature of that goal, and the way that players overcome adversity to work towards it, the game designer has a tremendous influence on crafting the play experience. So how can we take advantage of this in an endless game where there is no ultimate objective? If there was an ultimate objective, the game would have an ending, and it would not be endless. For this purpose, we can introduce short-term goals. In the game, a player struggles towards short-term goals, each one providing a kind of pleasure that is less immediate than the instant gratification of the core mechanic, but still is rapidly obtained. This works well with games on mobile platforms, because play sessions are on average between 17 minutes on smartphones and 30 minutes on tablets, making the player achieve something in only a short period of time. A game can explicitly provide short-term goals. However, it is also very common for players to generate short-term goals themselves in response to their current situation. Encouraging players to conceive and achieve goals gives them a sense of control in the game. Doug Church points out in his essay, Formal Abstract Design Tools, that there are many ways in which players are encouraged to form their own goals and act on them. The key is that players know what to expect from the world, and thus are made to feel in control of the situation. This process of accumulating goals, understanding the world, making a plan and then acting in it is a powerful means to get the player invested and involved. Short-term goals are navigational beacons that help through two related experiential functions. First, players use their short-term goals to make plans. Short-term goals allow the player to plan ahead, scouting out future actions, generating hypotheses about how they should play the game. Second, short-term goals are sources of satisfaction for players. It is the one thing to take on a short-term goal, but it's another thing to actually attain it. Short-term goals generate pleasure through both of these functions, making plans as well as achieving them. In endless games, we rarely find long-term goals, but they can be implemented outside the game itself. Say you are getting a score in an endless game for jumping over objects, and when you eventually die, you get a score for how many successful jumps you did, which accumulate toward a rank, for example. You start to run and jump over objects anew, and the next time you die and your points are tallied, your rank progresses towards the rank goal. Reaching a certain rank might unlock new content, for example. Another way can be to implement achievements, or in-game items to buy for points. This is where free-to-play comes in. Players should be able to spend a lot of time to get a certain item and enjoy it as a long-term goal without having to spend money, while others might find their time more valuable than their money and spend it on either currency or in-game items. You don't want to punish those invested in your game. If you don't make paid currency available as a reward for spending a huge amount of time in your game, you will exclude everyone without a credit card or disposable income, which means that you're cutting out a big chunk of players that make up such a enthusiastic and big part of gaming communities. For more on why free players are important, click the link in the description. What is more important is to never sell power, but convenience. If you sell your player a short-term win, chances are they will become less interested and invested in your game. You should always make it so that your game is worth their time, regardless of how much or how little money they have spent. Why is it that people spend so much time playing a video game just to get a good score? Everyone likes to get told they are doing a good job, and rewards are the way a game tells the player, you have done a good job. Don't forget that it's victories and treasures, not obstacles, that make people interested in playing. The worst trap for microtransactions is to squeeze the maximum amount of money out of your players by selling them things which alter the balance of the game. This is the fastest and easiest way to make players feel like you are taking advantage of them, because selling power really does force players to pay if they want to play. If you stop giving the player carrots that will keep the players excited, or start punishing them for curiosity, you're only going to drive away the very people who want to enjoy your game. Don't manipulate your players into spending money they don't want to spend. Give them a fair shake, and they will be fair to you. Short-term goals are necessary, because without them, a player can get lost in the landscape of a game. The pleasure of a player's experiences in a game arises from many simultaneous factors, from the moment-to-moment action core mechanic to the short-term accomplishments or long-term accomplishments. Each of these generates pleasures on its own, but what's link these pleasures together is meaningful play. If a player can't make a conscious decision about the rules that are present, there is no death. Without meaningful play, a player will never be able to take actions that have predictable outcomes, to choose this over that with a sense of how the choice plays out. Without the ability for players to progress, to have a sense of achievement and accomplishment, your game's player experience will feel dead. Depth comes in the player's ability to make meaningful choices, with the options that the rules present to them, and the ability to learn from the outcome of these choices. Without these two components, you don't have depth. Creating a game that can nourish deep pleasure, that can truly entrain and enrapture players, that can lead to new forms of pleasure and meaning, is a matter of sensitive and detailed game design, and something you should always strive for. This leads us to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for viewing. My name is Schell. Check out my website and links to sources and other stuff in the description.